Hey guys. Oh, I got my hair cut. It looks gray. Yeah, well, life goes on. I went for my hike. So it was 9.2 miles. And then I went and got my hair cut. And I took some pictures on Instagram and on my good friend Twitter. So that looks good. Wulfie is being needy. That's fun. Aren't you? And yeah, life's been interesting. I've had some I had some interviews. I shouldn't say job opportunities, but there are opportunities. But I had a couple interviews. One was for a plant in Franklin, Ohio. That one actually really sung to me because when I went and stayed, I had a date. It was a weekend sleepover, and then we went on a second date, and it just kind of went. But he lived in Miamisburg, and you go Miamisburg. The next town down towards Cincinnati is Franklin. So I was like, oh, I could live there because I liked it. I liked the area. I liked everything about it. It was very nice and quiet, peaceful. You could buy a house for next to nothing. I was pretty good with that. Wulfie and I could have a little place to our own. And stop. You're being a turd. He wants to participate, I guess. So that makes my belly look bigger. Yeah, so that would be cool. It was with a company I know very well. In fact, I know some people really high up in the company. Whereas my life has been like stagnant. These other people have like walked up the corporate ladders. That's not my goal in life. So I don't really worry about that. I worried about the fact that, here I am approaching mid-50s. And what do I have? I got me, I have Wolfgang, and I have all my knowledge. Oh, that makes me better off than a lot of people. So I shouldn't bitch. I'm gonna put you down, okay? Somebody has become very much a give me cheese daddy dog. And I know it's not good for him, but he loves cheddar cheese. I'm not kidding, he does. My other opportunities have been, this is awesome. And I probably talked about this a little bit, but I want to talk about why I like this much. I was talking to this lady. She's the HR recruiter for a company. I think she was based in Houston, but the company is worldwide, right? They're all worldwide anymore. And she was talking about this one particular facility that was looking for an APQP quality engineer. And I'm like, okay. So we're talking, and she says, so tell me, what do you know about PPAPs? And I'm like, well, I've been doing PPAPs, which I'm going to give you like what it is. It's basically, I tell you exactly as my customer, this is what the part numbers are. This is how much the parts weigh. This is what they're made out of. This is the process I'm using to make them. Complete everything. Here's my flow diagram. Shows you exactly how it's made. The flow diagram then goes into, here's my PFEMA, where I tell you all the risks that I see in the process and the risks that I see for the customer. And then I take, the next step is your control plan, in which you go and you take the FEMA and the process flow, and you go, okay, here's 1, 1, and 1. Here's 2, 2, and 2. Here's 3, 3, and 3. And inside of one could be multiple controls that I have in place. And I should have, if I have multiple controls, it's because I've seen multiple risks. For me, it's like, okay, that's easy. Everything has to align. I don't have to have as many things here as I have here. And potentially I don't have as many things here as I have here. Or conversely, this could be huge. Because I have many things that the risks are here, but I have a couple controls that I need to put in for each risk that was analyzed. So for me, it's like that. I can see it in my head. I can do a PFEMA in my head. It's literally that easy for me. I have 25 years experience. So as I'm talking to her and I'm explaining this, she goes, everybody we've talked to has been like, oh, I know a lot about PPAPs. What you do is you take the control plan and you put it here, and you take the PFEMA and you put it here, and you take the flow diagram and you put it here, and then, you know, you move on. And they said, well, how do you make a flow diagram? Oh, that's not my job. Okay. Yeah, I just collected the information, put it in a package, and then sent it out. That's not helpful. So these people are like, please explain to us what you've done. I'm like, I launched a plant. I said it just like that, that flat plant. I launched a plant. I had to write up all the APQP for 7 build assembly lines. And I had 3 months to do it. And Ford gave me an award for my APQP and my launch. And they were like, what? Yep. One of the best launches they had seen. They're like, holy crap, yeah. I'm not stupid. I know how to do this stuff. And she's like, then she was like, okay, I don't know how to approach this subject. And I said, go for it. What can you do to, you know? She says, how much would it take you to even talk to us? I said, what do you mean? She says, salary-wise. I said, this is what I make now. She goes, oh my God, how do you only make that much after 25 years experience? And I'm like, this is pretty average for how this gets paid. Actually, I'm on like high side. She says here, and she wrote me down for a starting salary that's a little more than $11,000 more than I make now, with 10% bonus potential, paid out quarterly. So it'd be, you know, 25%. That would be great. 25% of that 10%. So 2.5% every quarter if we meet our goals as a corporation. And they're doing military, aerospace. So, you know, they're going to. I'm like, yes! SpaceX. I'm like, okay, we're going the right direction. So, and that one is located in Spanish Fork, Utah. And I sat there and I'm like, oh, what do I think of Utah? Now, let me back up the boat here a bit. This will be interesting. My mom in the 1970s. So the movie Roots comes out, and everybody was like, oh, where do I come from? This is really cool that these people can like trace their ancestry back. I think there was a little bit of racial like animosity that these people, the family in question that for the Roots docuseries could trace their ancestry back, and a lot of white America couldn't. So my mom started doing ours. And we get back to her great-great-great-great-grandfather, who was Henson Walker Sr. And he lived in Maryland. He was a mess. No, wait a minute. I'm back too far. Okay, now I'm gonna question it. Oh no, it is Henson Walker Sr. He was a mess. Horrible mess. He come from a plantation family, but he wasn't inheriting anything. So he went out and worked. Yeah, his line of work would not be considered humanitarian today. So when he worked for a family called the Evans family that owned a plantation in Prince George's County, Maryland, when the owner died, he married the widow. Which, step up, okay, cool. Then she died. They had 2 kids, and she died. So he married her daughter, his stepdaughter. And that was all the Evans family was going to tolerate. So they ran them out of the state, and they moved up to New York. And they had a number of kids between the 2 of them. The first son was Henson Walker Jr. And the second son was George Washington Walker. George Washington Walker is my ancestor. The original, when my mom was doing all of this, the original thing, this is a long story, but I'm sorry. The original said George Weasel Walker. And my mom's like, why did they call him Weasel? I said, well, maybe it was a German thing, or, you know, I came up with some stuff. No, it was his personality. Everybody thought he was a weasel. It was George Washington Walker. So anyway, Henson Walker Jr. became a Mormon in upstate New York and moved to Nauvoo, Illinois, and then to Utah. So, well, the whole gist of this is I have a whole bunch of relatives, like a shit ton, that live in Utah. Now, can I leverage this for something? No. Would I want to? Also no. But it would just be kind of fun as I walk up to people and go, Walker, you don't descend from Henderson Walker, do you? Yeah, I do. We're cousins. Your ancestor broke our ancestress, Matilda. I think it was Matilda or Mary. Anyway, the daughter, the stepdaughter that married her stepdad. When he went to Nauvoo, instead of going with the family to Michigan, it broke her heart. She talked about him the rest of her life, and she never heard from him. So, it's just how things go. Anyway, so, talking about Utah. So, I've been, of course, knowing about Utah and how people in Utah are. And they're actually nice people. And I did a whole bunch of research because that's who I am. I'm like insanely weird. So, this place, this Spanish Fork, Utah, you go from town in a valley, and there's mountains like this. So when you're standing there, you just look up at mountains. And I'm like, oh, that would be so freaking cool. Now there's skiing. I don't ski. I can barely stand up. I'm not very coordinated and whatever. I'm like, but, you know, where there is skiing, there are guys. So that might help me out. Also, just location-wise, I was looking into it, and there's Thai food everywhere. Like, oh, Thai. And then there's really good gyms. So I'm like, in a world of what I like to do, Thai food, go to the gym, hike. Got mountains like right there. There's trails all over the place. Go explore a new city. Salt Lake City has 2.6 million people in the Metroplex. So there should be at least one guy that's like has vision issues and can't hear very well. They could say, oh yeah, AJ's pretty cool. He says some things that are funny. Yeah, really? What does he say that's funny? I don't know. Don't tell him I can't hear. That's a joke. I am pretty funny. So anyway, and then, you know, it's something I already know how to do. It's something that's like, so then we go to the next thing, which is this job in South Carolina, and it's in Greenville, South Carolina. And it's with a company that's American and Japanese. They've merged. And I'm like, okay, yeah, I know Japanese culture, so we're good. And then he's like, the culture here is basically there's French companies, German companies, and Japanese companies. And I'm like, really? I said, currently I work at a French company. He goes, oh, that's cool. Then you understand the people we work with. And I've worked at German companies. And he goes, oh. And my last job was with Toyota Tsusho. We were an affiliate of Toyota Tsusho. They actually owned like 40%. The other 70% was owned by another company. But the people that were funding it was completely Toyota Tsusho. So it was basically like, hey, we want your technology, but we don't want to pay you for it. We'll sink our money into this company. You guys sink the knowledge into the company, and we'll call it even. You guys will actually have the higher hand in it. And the other company said, ooh, that sounds like fun. So Toyota Susho, I worked at American Murata. I swear I worked at another Japanese company. I've worked for too many companies. ASC was German. Federal Mogul had a lot of German influence. Obviously, Valeo was French. IAC was American. Ellison was American. Telemann was Chinese, but in America, but they were Chinese. So yeah, lots of cultures. I know. And so then when the guy's like saying, "Hey, you're used to a lot of different cultures," I said, I lived in Detroit for 15 years. I have a lot more cultures than just that to tell you I know a lot about. We had a lot of Arabic people from Lebanon, Yemen, Iraq. Yeah, Indian, a lot of Indian. A lot of Japanese in Detroit. Detroit's like one of those places where every company that ever services the auto industry has representation. And I've dealt with, because that's just how it works. So, you know, as we're going, this position would be a corporate position, which I have been in corporate America before, but I would be like working with the continuous improvement manager, and we would be coordinating the quality aspects. I would help coordinate the quality projects and aspects of the continuous improvement. And I'm like, I've never done that. I have these three jobs, we'll just do it this way, because I don't want to like try to put up another finger. I'm kidding. These three jobs. One, I jumped from a French company to a French company. One, I'm like brutally overqualified for, and will probably drive people nuts with my "how do you not know this" mentality. And one that would be strategic, and I'd have to learn a lot. So I've got all these things going. Wolfgang is doing pretty well. He's actually napping now, that quickly. I went for a hike, like I said, 9.2 miles, come home, and he's like all anxious and nervous when I got home. And then I had to run out, get my hair cut. And then I went to Sam's Club. And I'm probably going to go for another hike. It's still kind of early-ish. I was going to go out tonight. I am not feeling it. As I sit there and think about things, and I'm thinking about, you know, what's going to happen next, I have no interest in putting down any form of roots here. If I go to Louisville, and this is how the world works, right? Let's all not pretend like we don't understand how the universe thinks. I will go to Louisville, and I will meet somebody, and I'll be like, I'm leaving. And that's exactly what's happened to me every time something like this has happened. When the multiverse starts in motion for me, it gets confused. I don't get confused. I stop being confused. Things are in motion. I can feel it. I can sense it. It's swirling. And that is the point where I become calmer, because I know what's happening. I can feel it. It's in my bones. And then all of a sudden, guys are coming to me. And they're like, "Hey, how are you?" And I'm like, "Where the fuck have you been?" But in a good way. I'm nice to people, to their face. Everything you're seeing and hearing is in my head. People told me, I had somebody, and I probably talked about it here. I know I talked about it here. Somebody told me I was very negative. And I sat there and I'm like, negative? Me? I see all sides of the coin. So yeah, a little bit of negativity does occur. Anyway, I need to let you guys go. I have been on here for almost 20 minutes, and nobody wants to listen to me babble for 20 minutes. I love you guys. I love you, dude. Keep your fingers crossed for me, okay?